Hello, and this is the Unicorn Ultra in our first YouTube video. We're going to be doing a video review of The Binding of Isaac, which is an indie game you can pick up on Steam, quite cheap. And we are going to run through some key things in our review, like gameplay randomness, which is a big factor, difficulty, bosses, soundtrack, and all that kind of stuff. So, I will pass you over to my colleague, and we will start off the review.
The first thing about Binding of Isaac is the gameplay, which is a core mechanic in any game, let's be honest. The gameplay in Binding of Isaac runs smooth, it works, and it's just really simple, as you'll probably see during the video. You use WASD to control your character, and you can use either the arrow keys or the mouse to fire your tears or blood or whatever, which is kind of horrible. But the gameplay works really well in conjunction with other features in the game, such as all the items you can get and the bosses that you'll fight. And I'll pass you back to talk about randomness.
Yes, randomness. Randomness is a very big thing in Binding of Isaac. It's the core mechanic that the whole game is based on. You will walk into every room in the dungeon-like setting of the game, and it will be randomly generated in terms of rock layout and, you know, the formation of the room and the enemies within the room, chests, what you get out of the chests, what items are in the shop available to purchase, what boss you get. Every single thing is based on randomness, which I happen to really like. And we're going to pass you back over to talk about the difficulty.
Binding of Isaac is quite a difficult game, despite its capable and smooth gameplay. The bosses range from being very easy, where you'll never take a hit, to incredibly difficult, where you'll see the boss and you'll automatically think, oh, my run through may be over right now, which I happen to think for like half the bosses, but that's beyond the point. It's a very difficult game if you don't know what you're doing. Once you know what you're doing a bit more and you've practiced, it can become not easy, but easier. The bosses are not actually the more difficult part of the game. It's actually more getting to the boss and exploring the whole floor, which you'll want to do to gain all the upgrades that you can. However, this comes with the cost of possibly being slaughtered by many aborted fetus, which are the enemies, and now we'll talk more about the enemies with the bosses here.
Yeah, the bosses are a big part of the game. At the end of every floor, you'll fight a boss, which is, as I said earlier, randomly generated based out of a pool for each set of floors. So you've got the three basic sets of floors, basement, caves, and depths. And there's a pool for each of these sets, and it will random the boss out of the available ones for that set of floors. And the cool thing about it is that the bosses are very formulaic. They have sequences of attack, and the first time you fight one, you'll probably die, and probably the second time as well, actually. But after that, you learn the attacks and you can quickly master them, which is really cool, because actually it gives the game a lot of replay value, because you want to kind of get to know how to kill each boss. And yeah, that's pretty awesome.
This game features a fantastic soundtrack, one of the best ever, I must say. On par with games such as Mario Kart, which I'm sure you'll agree have amazing, legendary in fact, soundtracks. You can even buy the soundtracks on Steam for about £1 when it's on deal, maybe £2 at the moment. I'm not sure how much in dollars, I assume 2 or 3. However, it's just incredible. You'll probably hear it playing throughout this video, and you can make your own opinions. But the soundtrack does add to the atmosphere a lot, with the kind of messed up storyline that the game offers. But the soundtrack starts off very, not calm, but more enjoyable towards the start of the game in the first couple of floors, the basement, and then moves to be much more creepy almost, and much more dynamic with content. When you're in the caves, and then in the depths it gets quite tense, because you know you can die at any room you're hoping that the randomness that the game has will not screw you over, essentially.
Yes, another thing about this game is value for money. That's the key thing, really. Like, I have got 30 plus hours out of this game, and it is a couple of quid, literally a couple of quid. If it's on Steam deal, then it's possibly even 99p or something ridiculous like that. But I would definitely advise to pick this game up because it is so good for the amount of money you have to pay. And the soundtrack is actually quite a good deal as well, because it is a beautiful soundtrack. I love the soundtrack. Yes, so value for money, amazing.
Talking about value for money actually brings up the issue, well, not the issue, the benefit of the game, and its replay value. A run of The Binding of Isaac can take an hour, about an hour, if you complete if you get to Mum, who is the final boss on the 5th floor, before you open up the rest of the game, which has, I think, 7 or maybe more floors. And so about an hour initially to get to Mum and kill her, essentially. But this offers fantastic replay value in conjunction with the randomness, because you never know what you're going to find in the game. You might get a great run and die, like happens every time. And it's just fantastic how replayable this game is, which adds to the value for money significantly. The storyline in this game is kind of odd. You'll notice through the opening cinematic that it will tell the story of Isaac and how his mother was almost indoctrinated by Christianity, which I'm sure will cause a lot of controversy, which may be one of the only negatives to this game. However, it's much deeper than it originally feels, because you notice all the enemies seem to be almost like other children and things that resemble Isaac yourself that she's thrown down here, and it gets you thinking about the issues of maybe religion if you're an atheist, or just like indoctrination and all that good stuff that everyone loves.
Yeah, another thing, quantity of items in the game. So, as I've said about 25 times during this review, everything is random, and when you walk into an item room, or indeed any room, and get an item, it is also completely random. You get active items, which are items that you can use by pressing the space bar, and they do things like make you piss yourself. And they also do things like explode or send a nuclear missile into wherever you're pointing the cursor at. So there's quite a wide range of things, really. Then you get passive items, which increase your stats, which we'll come onto a little bit more later. But you've got speed and damage and your usual stats, and you can try and get them up throughout your playthrough. There are a massive range of items, is a massive range of items in the game, and you can look it up on the wiki, which has a full list of the items, but it may be more fun not to. It's really up to you and how you like to play the game. I mean, you may enjoy picking up an item and experimenting with it, not knowing what it does, and then figuring it out for yourself, or you may enjoy reading about it and then planning how to use it. It's up to you, and I like the way the game gives you that choice.
There are a number of ways to obtain the items, such as through the shop, which you purchase items through coins that you gather, which are typically just a cent and then a nickel and a dime and everything. You can get money from vending machines, just random item drops, and in the shop you can buy items such as bombs, which you must use to open up the secret room, which has even more coins in. And keys are very useful. You need to open an item room which is on each floor. There are also other types of rooms, such as you can do a deal with the devil after a boss fight, usually, well, occasionally, sorry, but I think it only happens after a boss fight, and you trade one of your whole heart containers or two even for an item, but the items are often really good. Like there's one called the pentagram, which ups your damage by I think 2 stages, which is really useful. Another thing about this game is the stylized graphics, which I'm sure you've seen through other games such as Don't Starve, which has very unique and really cool graphics. Actually, another game is Borderlands, which has the sort of almost trademark black outline around almost everything, which makes the game really recognizable. This game has a really great art style, especially with all the bosses and the vast quantities of items. And it's just a really good, like, beautiful game, to be honest, along with the soundtrack.
Okay, so there are negatives that we have got, but really they're pretty insignificant, and I haven't really got many grumbles about this game. One little thing is when you pick up some of the kind of passive stat enhancing items, they don't always show up on the bars that you can get to by pausing the game. But it's not really a big deal because you pretty much know what you've picked up and how high your damage is and so on. So that's a tiny little grumble, mainly because we had to say something bad about the game to make it a balanced review.
The only issue that I feel with the game that could ever alter your opinion and if you want to get this game is the religious controversy, shall we say. It is quite, I can imagine, it's similar in ways to Bioshock Infinite, but this is much more directly having a go at Christianity. I myself I consider myself an atheist. I'm not really too sure at the moment, to be honest, but I don't have any complaints with the game, and I've got a couple of Christian friends who really enjoy it as well, actually. But to be honest, if you're a devout Christian, you may find this quite offensive, as the mother gets indoctrinated by Christianity and then essentially ends up possibly murdering her son, which is it sends out very negative messages, shall we say, without going too far.
In conclusion, get this game. I don't really need to say much more than that. It's basically an amazing game. I can't really bother to rate it out of 100 because, well, I don't really know, but I'd probably give it something around the 90 mark because it's amazing. So get it. That's my message for you today.